on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about The Screaming Skull. This movie is awful. I bought this double feature for $1. It's got The Screaming Skull and The Werewolf vs. Vampire Woman. I'll probably be talking about that one this month. Bought this whole thing for $1, so I guess I only paid 50 cents for The Screaming Skull. I still feel like I paid too much. Apparently, this movie was covered on an episode of Mystery Science Theater 3000. I have not seen that episode. I probably would have reined in my expectations a little bit if I had known that before watching this movie. This came from sometime in the 50s, so already I was thinking to myself, unless your name is Alfred Hitchcock, you're probably not making very good horror movies in the 50s. And something I don't think I've even mentioned in talking about any of these horror movies this month is there are two ways to watch a horror movie. There are people who legitimately want to be scared while watching whatever it is they're watching, and then there's also people who want to watch some good filmmaking, good storytelling. They're looking out for the craft of work in the script and the acting and all that stuff. And there, you could have both for sure. But for me, I'm very, very rarely actually scared whenever I'm watching a horror movie. And especially with a lot of what I've covered this month, I haven't been especially scared with any of that. But with this movie, there wasn't anything that even kind of comes close to being scary. At the very beginning of the movie, there are two warnings saying you might die from fright watching this movie. And they have this cutesy little thing where they have a certificate and they say, if you die, then your burial is on us if you die while watching this movie. And I don't know, I feel like if you're going to have something like that at the beginning of your movie, you should put your money where your mouth is and actually have something scary. This movie is not very long. When you take out all the fluff at the beginning and end, then it's just over an hour. There are, like I said, a couple of little warnings at the beginning about how scary it is, and then we get right into the movie, and then it ends like maybe an hour and 11 minutes in, and then you get a couple of Betty Boop cartoons, and I just stopped right there. There's not much to say about this. The basic plot is this guy returns to his old home with his second wife because his first wife died some years ago and he hasn't been back here in a while, and then his second wife is being tormented with these visions. She's hearing screaming at night, and then she'll open the door and there will be a skull on the ground, and so she screams and passes out, and then she wakes up and her husband says there was no skull here. And so you're trying to figure out, okay, who is behind all this? Is it the creepy gardener who used to work for the family of the husband many years ago? Is it the reverend or his wife who are friends with this guy? Spoilers, it's the husband himself. Apparently he marries women and then preys on them psychologically, and then he wants to kill them and I guess take their money. It's not an especially interesting reveal since there are only like 5 characters in the entire movie, and one of them is the victim of all of this. Then there's only so many people that it could be, and there's just not that much that's really interesting going on in this movie. I guess if somebody kept knocking on my door and I opened the door and there was an actual human skull on the ground, I would be scared. I'd be mortified, like, where did this come from? But I don't know if I would pass out from fear. I don't know if I would see it and immediately not think, hey, look at this skull that came from Party City, and then I might look closer at it and realize, oh, it's a real skull. But I don't know, like, the scariest thing in this movie is you open the door and there's a skull on the ground. At one point, we do get to see like a spirit that's like moving through walls and stuff, and it torments a couple of people. It torments the woman, and then it also torments the husband. And so I guess there at the end, it's kind of trying to pull a twist ending of like, okay, all of this was the husband just pretending to be a ghost or whatever, but then this thing might actually be real. Who knows? And it just doesn't work for me. There are absolutely no actors or director or anybody involved with this movie that I had ever heard of before. I think the closest person to being kind of famous involved with this movie, I don't remember his name, but the guy who did the score later went on to do the score for the Ten Commandments. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But overall, see, when I first put the disc in, what was playing on the screen was like, hey, welcome to this drive-in theater. We've got a double feature for you tonight. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, okay. And even even though these titles, I've never heard of either of them before, I was still kind of going in expecting something a little better than what I got. And unfortunately, at least with the Screaming Skull, I was very disappointed with what I got. And I don't know what I would have done differently. I know in the 50s, they were a lot more strict on what they were allowed to get away with in film. Nowadays, you could do something a lot scarier that they would not have even thought that they would have been allowed to have gotten away with back then. But still, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was expecting something better than what I got. This is not a great video. I know. I am sorry. It's hard to describe in so many words how something is just not scary, but the Screaming Skull is just not scary. So I hope you guys like this video, and I will be back tomorrow probably to talk about this werewolf versus vampire woman thing. In the meantime, I hope you guys have a great rest of the day, and I will see you in the future. Have a good one.